On a luxurious family trip, my husband and his relatives demanded I foot every bill, claiming I owed them for marrying their golden boy. When I refused, he threw my wallet into the sea. I sipped my drink and said, "Good luck getting home without me." His grin disappeared instantly. I'm Ava Sinclair, 36, a software consultant from Oregon. I worked my way through community college, took night shifts to survive, and eventually built a quiet, steady life I was proud of. That is, until I married Henry Whitmore, a man born into legacy, dripping with polished charm, and tied to a family that thought they owned the sun. The Whitmores were old Southern money. Think, plantations turned museums, generations of blue blood, and a country club that still didn't allow new money without a second sponsor. I wasn't poor when I met Henry, but to them, I was unspeakable. A project dressed in designer heels. The family tolerated me because Henry insisted. I was the one he wanted, and Henry always got what he wanted. Until he didn't. It started small. At gatherings, they would smile with their mouths and glare with their eyes. His mother once greeted me with a kiss and whispered, "You must be so grateful. Most women in your situation never land men like Henry." His sister called me Ava from nowhere when she thought I wasn't listening. But the worst part? Henry never defended me. Not once. He'd smile, shift the topic, and later say, "It's just their humor, babe. Don't take it personally." Fast forward 6 years. Henry lost his job after a very public scandal at his father's firm, something about misusing company funds. I, on the other hand, was flourishing. Promotions, bonuses, stock options. Our roles flipped. I became the breadwinner. And that's when the resentment slithered in. Henry's family booked a luxurious vacation on a private Greek island, 6 ocean view villas, personal chefs, yacht tours at sunset. They said it was a bonding trip. I didn't want to go, but Henry insisted, said it would be good for optics. So, I went. And the moment we landed, it began. Dinner the first night was at a cliffside restaurant. Fresh seafood, vintage wine, a view that could make a grown man weep. When the bill came, his father slid it, without a word, across the table, to me. I laughed awkwardly, waiting for the joke to land. No one laughed. Henry just nudged me and said, "You've got this one, don't you? You earn the most now." The next day, I paid for a wine-tasting tour. Then a catamaran cruise. Then a luxury spa day his sister swore was mandatory bonding. I started getting receipts totaling more than my monthly mortgage. I pulled Henry aside and asked, "Why am I paying for everything?" He looked at me dead in the eye and said, "Come on, Ava. You owe us. If you hadn't married into the Whitmores, you wouldn't even be on this island." That was it. That was the sentence that shattered everything. I wasn't his wife. I was his debt collector's fantasy. They saw me not as family, but as currency. Every moment of humiliation, every quiet insult, I was expected to pay it back in dollars. But the final straw? It came on the 4th night. A private beach dinner. Over $3,000 worth of wine, shellfish, imported desserts. I refused to pay. I looked Henry's mother in the face and said, "You've mistaken me for your accountant." Henry stood up. Walked to my bag on the lounge chair. Pulled out my wallet, and with a twisted grin, tossed it into the dark Aegean Sea. The table erupted in laughter. "Oh, Henry," his sister squealed. His mother actually clapped. And me? I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I took a slow sip of my wine, set the glass down gently, and looked Henry in the eye. "Good luck getting home without me." His smile faltered. "You booked the flights, right?" I asked. He blinked. "No? Then how do you plan to leave Greece?" Silence. "You see, Henry," I continued, "the rooms? My name. The passports? Locked in the suite, registered under my ID. The concierge, the emergency cash, the transportation account, all mine. Without me, you are just a man in designer linen stranded on a rock in the sea." Then I stood, brushed the sand from my dress, and walked away. As I passed the flickering tiki torches lining the beach path, I heard nothing behind me, only stunned silence. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't sleep that night. Back in my suite, under the hum of the air conditioning and the distant crash of waves, I lay still, eyes wide open, heart hammering in a chest that had forgotten how to breathe normally. You'd think, after walking away from a table full of smug betrayal, I'd feel triumphant. I didn't. I felt hollow. Cold. Like I'd just buried the version of me that had tried so hard to belong. For years, I'd twisted myself into something palatable. Polished my voice. Learned the difference between old world wine and new world. Sat in silk chairs at country clubs pretending I didn't hear the condescension in their compliments. I'd smiled through every dinner where I was introduced as Ava, our family's modern Cinderella. But tonight, the mask cracked. Henry didn't come back. At first, I checked the hallway camera. Just in case. But there was no sign of him, no footsteps outside my door, no apologetic knocks. He wasn't looking for me. Not really. Because in his mind, I was the one who needed to be sorry. In his mind, I owed him something for marrying him. For being given the privilege of proximity to his bloodline. It wasn't love. I see that now. It was a transaction. A well-dressed deal where he got a wife who earned 6 figures and didn't ask too many questions, and I got, what? A seat at a table that always made sure I knew it was never truly mine. The next morning, I called the front desk. Calm. Focused. I'd like to change my reservation. New name. New payment method. And I'd like my suite access revoked for a party listed under the Whitmore family. Yes, ma'am, the concierge said without hesitation. Will anyone else be staying with you? No, I replied. Not anymore. I spent that morning like a queen in exile, unbothered and unbotherable. Spa treatment. A full body scrub to wash off the filth of entitlement. A hair mask to repair what salt water and betrayal had tried to weaken. I ordered breakfast for 2. Ate both. But still, silence. No text. No call. Just a hollow absence that filled every corner of my suite like poison gas. And I hated that it hurt. I hated that some part of me still wanted Henry to show up. To knock on the door and say, "You're right." I was a coward. I let them treat you like less. But not anymore. But that knock never came. What did come was a message. Not from Henry. From his sister, Ashley. A voicemail, sent to my WhatsApp like a bullet wrapped in pink tulle. You're seriously ruining the vibe, Ava. You're being dramatic. Just come back and stop embarrassing everyone. We all know you married up, don't forget that. I sat there, my thumb hovering over the play button again, unsure if I wanted to listen or launch my phone into the ocean after my wallet. My hands were trembling, but my resolve was still. She said it out loud. What they all believed. I hadn't married into love, I'd married into a caste. And my place was below them, beneath them. I was a working-class woman who'd breached their gates, and they had spent every day since trying to push me back down the hill. That's when the anger came. Hot. Furious. Clean. Not wild rage, but a steady fire that started in my spine and rose, slow and powerful, through every bone in my body. For the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't explain myself or shrink or ask for permission to be outraged. I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. Freeze the joint accounts, I said. There was a pause on the other end. All of them. Every single one. And Henry. I stared out the window at the horizon, blue and endless, untouchable. He'll figure out what it's like to be left with nothing, I whispered. Just like he tried to leave me. They didn't realize the storm had already begun. When Ryan woke up the next morning, still drowsy from champagne and ego, he probably thought the sun would rise on another day of luxury. Maybe he imagined I'd come crawling back, apologizing for overreacting, ready to resume my role as the quiet, well-behaved wallet. Instead, he was met with silence. And then the consequences. I had revoked every single reservation tied to my name, frozen the joint credit line, and notified the resort that I no longer claimed responsibility for any charges incurred by the Whitmore family. They were officially on their own. The front desk confirmed it, Mr. Whitmore and his party were no longer under the premium guest registry. No oceanfront views. No champagne breakfast. No concierge butler. Just a standard guest suite and a growing pile of unpaid bills. I imagine the moment the realization hit must have been cinematic. Ryan, standing barefoot in a silk robe he didn't pay for, confused and fuming. His mother demanding an explanation in that clipped, country club voice she used when speaking to service workers. Ashley shrieking like she'd just found a chip in her manicure. the staff politely informing them that, unfortunately, without a valid card on file, they'd need to settle their outstanding balance immediately. They had nothing. Ryan's bank card? Declined. Ashley's? Flagged for fraud. His father, the patriarch who supposedly built an empire of dealerships? Turns out, the empire had crumbled years ago, only no one had updated the family's delusion. And there it was. The facade, stripped. They weren't wealthy. They weren't elite. They were pretending, and I had been the one bankrolling their fantasy. I didn't know any of this until later. I was in the spa, wrapped in a robe softer than clouds, sipping cucumber water while a hotel employee came to deliver the update. "There's a bit of a commotion with your former suite," he said delicately. "Security has escorted the guests to another part of the resort." "Did they try to charge anything to my name?" I asked, calmly. The staff member nodded. "Yes, ma'am. A sunset catamaran cruise and 3 bottles of Dom Perignon." I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in days. "Cancel everything. Permanently. And please note that I am to have 0 contact." "Of course," he said, bowing slightly. I leaned back into my seat and closed my eyes. Let the chaos rise. I would not lift a single finger. But the family didn't go quietly. That afternoon, I got a knock on my door. I didn't answer. Then a call on the hotel phone. I unplugged it. Then my personal phone buzzed. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail, then listened, curiosity piqued. It was Ryan. His voice, once smug and arrogant, now cracked with panic. "You can't do this," he said, like a spoiled prince denied his crown. "You're leaving us stranded. We haven't eaten since yesterday. You've made your point, please, just help me fix this." Fix this? The man who laughed while throwing my wallet into the ocean wanted me to fix his mess. I stood up, opened the minibar, poured myself a small glass of chilled white wine, and toasted the mirror. To liberation. Later that night, the hotel manager returned, with security beside him. The Whitmores had attempted to sneak into the premium guest pool. They claimed they were misbooked. They refused to pay the outstanding $8,000 in charges. "Ma'am," the manager said. "We are considering involving the local authorities." I sipped my wine. Do what you have to do. I'm not their guardian. I could have stopped it. I could have paid, or called the embassy, or extended a lifeline. But no one had offered me one when I was humiliated in front of strangers. This wasn't revenge. This was accountability. They had mistaken my kindness for weakness. They saw my success as something to exploit. They thought they could take and take and take. And now? They would learn what it meant when the well runs dry. It's funny how grief can mimic clarity. I wasn't just grieving my marriage. I was grieving the version of myself who once believed love was enough, that if you were kind, loyal, and generous, you'd be met with the same. That girl was gone now. She died somewhere between the laughter echoing when Ryan threw my wallet into the ocean, and the cold, gnawing silence that followed. The next morning, I woke to a knock at the door. It wasn't hotel staff this time. It was Lisa, a U.S. consular officer. Calm voice, pressed suit, eyes like a seasoned detective. "Mrs. Whitmore," she began gently, "your husband has filed a sworn statement. He claims you're in possession of his passport and have effectively abandoned him in a foreign country without access to funds or identification." I blinked, stunned. "He told you I stole his passport?" She nodded. "He's alleged that you locked it in the safe and left with the key. He says he's stranded." My hands were ice. My jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. But my voice? Steel. "I have evidence," I said. "Would you like the screenshots or the video first?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. I reached for my phone and opened the security footage the resort had sent me. It showed Ryan snatching my wallet, walking barefoot toward the water, then tossing it in with a grin, his family clapping behind him like children at a fireworks show. I paused the video. This is the man claiming I trapped him. Lisa's face didn't change much. But her silence spoke volumes. I continued, showing her the timestamped emails with the resort staff where I documented transferring the passports and belongings to their new suite after being moved from mine. Everything was laid out, neat, irrefutable. She exhaled, long and low. "Understood. Thank you, ma'am. If we require further information, we'll reach out." She left. But the damage Ryan had tried to cause lingered in the air like a rotten perfume. Later that night, my bank pinged me with a fraud alert. Someone was trying to access our joint investment account from a new device back in Texas. That didn't make sense. Ryan was here. His entire blood-sucking family was here. So who the hell was back home? I called my attorney. Within the hour, he confirmed it. The login attempt had come from Darren, Ryan's cousin, the one who once called me uptight for not funding Ashley's cosmetic surgery. Ryan had given him our shared credentials. Had coached him. Had planned this. They thought they could rob me blind and get away with it. But they didn't know what I had waiting in the wings. My lawyer filed a fraud report. Our joint accounts were frozen. Darren was flagged for investigation. And suddenly, the Whitmore family, so loud, so entitled, was completely, devastatingly silent. That silence didn't last long. Ashley, queen of the dramatics, sent me a rage-fueled email from an unblocked address. You're ruining people's lives over a stupid vacation. We didn't hurt you. We just expected you to support your family. What you're doing is cruel. Cruel. Cruel was laughing when my wallet sank into the ocean. Cruel was watching me foot every bill while they sipped cocktails and rolled their eyes. Cruel was trying to ruin me financially while calling it love. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded the message to my lawyer. We were already building the timeline, every charge, every email, every digital fingerprint. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. My attorney called me that evening with a voice laced with something I hadn't heard from him before, tension. We found something, he said. And it's big. I held my breath. Ryan had created an LLC months ago, Brightite Consulting. A fake company with no employees, except one. Ashley. He had been funneling money from our shared investments into this fake company, paying her through it using payroll services. Thousands of dollars. Then came the final blow, a condo in Austin, purchased in full, 3 months ago. Paid in cash. Through the LLC. I nearly dropped my phone. He had planned this. All of it. Every toast, every kiss on the forehead, every time he called me babe, it had all been calculated. He didn't love me. He used me. I stared at the ocean from my balcony as the final pieces slid into place. This wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. Treason of the heart. And now. It was war. I had been humiliated on a beach in front of strangers. I had been stolen from by the man who once kissed my forehead and promised to protect me. I had been lied to, laughed at, underestimated. But now. Now I held the match. And I was going to burn the illusion to the ground, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. Because a woman doesn't rise from the ashes just to sit politely in the smoke. Before flying home, I returned to the original resort, the one where my wallet had been sacrificed to the sea like some cruel ritual. I asked the staff to prepare a dinner. A private one. A reconciliation dinner, I told them, with an apologetic smile. But they knew. Oh, they knew. I showed them just enough of the receipts, the lies, the theft, and they gave me their best private deck, draped in soft candlelight and woven lanterns. They even placed 2 undercover security staff nearby, just in case. At 7 p.m. sharp, Ryan arrived. Pressed linen shirt. Polished shoes. Fake confidence dripping off him like overpriced cologne. Behind him, his entourage, Ashley, smug and suspicious. His mother, all cold pearls and disapproval. His father, stoic, pretending this wasn't about to be a funeral. Ryan pulled out a chair for me like nothing had happened. So, he said, smile gleaming, are we going to work this out like adults? I didn't answer. I slid a folder across the table. He opened it. Bank statements. Wire transfers. LLC registrations. Ashley's payroll. The Austin condo. Each sheet like a blade. His face went from tan to gray in seconds. Ashley leaned over. Her voice shook. What is this? I turned to her slowly. This is proof that you were complicit in fraud. Congratulations, your name is on a federal payroll document for a company that doesn't exist. She shot up from her seat like I'd slapped her. That's a lie. I reached for my phone. Pressed play. A voice recording from a call with the payroll company. The rep saying her name. The payment breakdown. Dates. Timestamps. Ashley's mouth hung open like a trapdoor. Ryan tried to stand. I spoke before he could. You know what the worst part is? I wanted to forgive you. I thought you were just weak. I thought maybe you let your family cloud your judgment. But no. You weren't weak. You were calculated. Strategic. You built a life on lies and thought I'd never find the basement full of bones. His father grabbed the folder, flipping page after page. This can't be real, he muttered. Oh, it's real, I said softly. As real as the moment your son threw my wallet into the ocean because I wouldn't pay for his wine. Ryan looked at me, his expression hollow. A man watching the storm he conjured began to swallow him whole. You ruined my life, he whispered. No, I said, standing slowly. You did that all on your own. I just turned on the lights. He lunged toward me. Security stepped in immediately, one hand on his shoulder, another ready on his arm. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I just walked away. Back at the hotel, I poured myself a glass of wine, the expensive kind, the kind I used to feel guilty buying. I stood on the balcony, watching the water crash below me. The same water that had swallowed my wallet, and with it, my patience. Ryan tried to contact me after that. Of course he did. He sent messages riddled with desperation, you're taking this too far. You've embarrassed me. You're destroying our marriage over money. But this was never about money. This was about respect, something he had none of. So I filed for divorce the moment I landed back in the States. The documents were airtight. Every bank transfer. Every forged signature. Every recorded lie. I didn't just take half. I took everything. The condo? Sold. The fake LLC? Reported. Ashley? Investigated for tax evasion. His family? Disowned him the moment their own reputations were at stake. The man who once mocked me for drinking cheap coffee was now living in his cousin's guest room, banned from 5 banks, flagged by 2 embassies, and drowning in legal bills. And me. I found peace in the silence that followed. The kind of peace that hums through your bones. People say revenge is loud. But it's not. It's calm. It's measured. It's walking away with your head held high, while your ex watches you leave from the ashes of everything he built on your back. And darling, I didn't just survive. I won.